All right, man, peace. You know, in life, brothers, I always say that self-awareness is very important. It transcends basically every endeavor, every role, whether it be gender, race, what have you. You have to know exactly what your place is and what your state is so that you understand how to conduct yourself. And in boxing, that manifests itself in the form of the A side and the B side. If you know that you're the A side, then you know that there's going to be far more leeway that you have with the judges. If you're the B side, you know that you have to be far more aggressive in order to get decisions. And somebody must have told Gennady Golovkin that he was the A side in this fight when he was in fact the B side. Because he spent the entire pre-fight hype talking about how he was going to engage in Mexican style with Canelo, how he was going to punish Canelo for using performance-enhancing drugs. And then the fight came, and he was shocked by how Canelo chose to fight in that bout. And that was very obvious from round one. He thought that Canelo was going to try to run. He thought that he was going to stalk Canelo, break him down to the body, come up top with that hard left hook. And Canelo just stood there in the center of the ring, held his ground, and outboxed him early. Now, down the stretch of the fight, it's very clear that Triple G started to gain momentum. He hurt Canelo more than once in the latter part of the fight. But once again, when you talk all that trash about how you're going to walk a fighter down and how you're going to engage in Mexican style, and you don't do that, and you're the B side, you're not going to win these close decisions. Many times when we watch in the history of boxing, we know that there are certain fighters that fight in a certain way. And if they don't fight in that way in a particular fight, you're thinking to yourself, what's wrong with him? If you're watching a fighter who's known for punching hard and who's a slugger, who's known for coming forward, and suddenly he's retreating, what do you assume? You assume that he must be feeling his opponent's punches. That's what one would assume. So that's what happened with Gennady. And he probably lost a couple of rounds that could have went either way, that he may have gotten the better of Canelo in that round. But because he was moving backwards and Canelo was moving forwards, that's what cost him the fight. And that happens all the time. That's one of the reasons why Floyd Mayweather is undefeated. Because he has the penchant, he has the reputation for being able to adjust his style. He can fight going forward, he can fight going backwards, he can move around the ring, he can hold his ground. So there's never going to be a fight where the judges are evaluating Mayweather and they say to themselves, something is wrong with Floyd. When you're watching a Triple G fight and he's moving backwards, you're saying to yourself, well, maybe he's feeling Canelo's punches. And that makes all the difference in the world when you're the B side. So anyway, they're going to talk about it and I'm going to chime in.
Canelo Alvarez defeated Triple G by majority decision in their much-anticipated rematch. And that was Saturday night. Two judges scored at 115-113 for Alvarez, and the third judge scored at 114-114. They fought to a controversial sprint draw.
I also had at 115-113 Canelo, but if it had ended up being a draw, I would have had no problem with it. But people have to also understand the boxing matches that we watch on television that are fought at a championship level, on a high level, they're also for entertainment. They had to push this narrative forward. You can't have two straight draws. Now, the real issue is that, to me, in the first fight, Triple G won. So there's no way that you're going to allow two straight draws. Somebody had to win in this fight, and they were not going to give Triple G the decision. He's 36 years old. He's not going to move up in weight. He's certainly not going to move down in weight. The Triple G narrative is coming to an end. If the fight is close, they're going to give it to Canelo. That's all the more reason why Triple G should have stood his ground in the fight. And there were certain points in the fight where even his trainer told him, you're losing the fight. These are facts that I'm speaking right now. His trainer told him, I believe after round 7, you're losing the fight.
Last September. Max, I'll start with you. Did you agree with the decision?
I thought it should have been a draw. And particularly, I thought Canelo won 4 of the first 6 and Triple G won 4 of the last 6. But one of the 4 was 6-6, no knockdowns, no extra points, so it's a draw. One of the reasons that I have a problem with the decision, not a huge one, I think you could give that fight to Canelo, but the 12th round, look, Steve Weisfeld's one of the judges, he's an excellent judge. But the 12th round was pretty clearly Triple G's, and 2 of the 3 judges, including Steve, scored the round for Canelo. Now, had that round been scored properly for Triple G?
Let me say this, and many people might say to themselves, well, they scored the 12th round for Canelo, there must have been a fix. No, not necessarily. I think that both of those judges were cognizant of the fact that the first fight was a fix. So if on their scorecard it comes out to another draw, it's not going to look good for boxing. It would actually look like more of a fix if there were 2 straight draws than it would have had they given the decision to one of the fighters, particularly Canelo. Once again, Triple G participated in his own demise, in my view, because had he stood his ground more and been more offensive early, he could have put it more into the judges' minds that he's here to win, and he would have forced their hand to give him more of the rounds. But once again, it's difficult to stand your ground and be offensive when your opponent is outboxing you, when he has better skills than you, and when he's hurting you to the body, like Canelo was clearly hurting Triple G to the body in their fight.
It's a draw. And so if you're Triple G today, you're going, hold on, I should be 1-0-1, and instead I'm 0-1-1, because he should have won the first fight and drawn in this fight, in my opinion. But look, when you're claiming the entire time that you're going to fight Mexican style, you're trying to goad the counterpuncher, who's Canelo, into standing toe-to-toe with you, and then he stands toe-to-toe with you, and
you can see Triple G flinching when Canelo hits him with those right hooks to the body.
You try to fight on the...
And you also could see the very obvious difference in Canelo's physique from the first fight to this fight. So his contention that he had no idea what he was taking, that's totally false.
On the perimeter of the ring behind the jab, which he did effectively in a way, but...
What he showed in this fight, though, is that he didn't need that shit in his system. All he needed was to focus.
But Canelo is the one bringing the fight. Canelo's the one landing the damaging shots, especially in the first half of the fight. You know, you might lose that decision. Canelo was ripping Triple G's body, and the thing that was so amazing...
He sure was.
...about it, Stephen A., people, I know, like, they've been talking about the fact that I said Canelo's winning the story of the fight. My point during the fight was, it's not enough to win the story of the fight. Andre Ward was winning the story of the fight against Kovalev in the rematch. May have been down on the cards, but he knocked Kovalev out. And I kept mentioning, Canelo may want to close the show. The story is not enough to win. You have to win the fight itself. But the amazing part about it was, in spite of Canelo doing the damaging body work, in spite of Triple G fighting in the perimeter and Canelo taking the play away early, it was Triple G who rallied late. The way Canelo rallied late in the first fight, Triple G rallied like a champion down the stretch.
Yes, he did. He did rally like a champion down the stretch, but it may have been too little too late. Once again, boxing is entertainment. You have to be cognizant of that. His trainer was constantly trying to give him the impetus to be more aggressive, because I'm sure that even his trainer knew that the way that Gennady was fighting was putting him in a very bad position if that fight were to go to the cards, which it did. And of course, he ended up losing the decision. I thought that it was a fair decision. I thought that at best it was a draw in regards to being what was best for Gennady Golovkin, or from the Gennady Golovkin perspective. But I gave the decision to Canelo, because I thought that he had more heart, more gusto early on and throughout the fight. Really never once did Canelo decide that he was going to relent from his fight plan. Triple G was trying to change his fight plan different times because he allowed himself to be shocked by how Canelo came out. And he should have considered that Canelo would try to be more aggressive, because he tried to move a lot in the first fight and he got tired even when he was on that shit. So of course he was going to be tired in this fight if he tried to move around. So really the only adjustment that Canelo could make was that he was going to stand his ground and hold his ground. And like I said prior to the fight, the reason why I picked Triple G by stoppage is because I was questioning what Canelo's potential punch resistance would be without that shit in his system. Well, he proved me wrong. He had a great chin regardless. He had great heart regardless. He had great willpower regardless. So good for him.
And to pull out what I thought was a draw. But at any rate, to hurt Canelo late, after he'd been raped to the body and worked over in the first half of the fight, that was an epic middleweight title fight, and I'd love to see a third one.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm about done with them. I mean, why would you want to have a third fight if you're Canelo Alvarez? You have nothing to gain. You already have the belts at 160. You don't ever have to fight Triple G again. He's 36 years old. How many more fights is Triple G going to fight? If you're Canelo, you make Triple G go fight Charlo. You say, go beat Jamal Charlo. Go beat Demetrius Andrade. Go fight, what's this kid named? Danny Jacobs again. Get through those 3 guys, and then I might think about giving you a chance. That's what you're saying if you're Canelo. Because basically it's like, I thought I won the first fight. I beat you the second fight with no juice in my system. You're 36 years old. I'm the bigger draw. I'm the bigger name. I'm the A side. Why would I give you a rematch for? Right now, I'm 1-on-1 against you. I have nothing to gain.
And I thought Triple G won the fight. I thought he won a close decision. I thought he should have gotten the decision, but I knew he wasn't going to get it. Because I knew the fight would be close. And Canelo's popularity in Vegas and what he brings to the table from a boxing perspective, I thought ultimately will propel him to getting the victory.
Exactly. And Triple G should have been thinking along those lines as well.
And that's exactly how it turned out being. Now, in fairness to you and everybody else, Andre Ward, Errol Spence Jr., and Jamel Charlo all cornered me after the fight. These are all champions, all undefeated, okay? And they all thought Canelo won the fight.
Ding. Because people who really know the sport, they know who won the fight.
They thought that he was the constant aggressor. They kept bringing up the fact that Triple G was talking about Mexican style. Triple G wanted Canelo to stand there and face him. And Triple G got exactly what he wanted and instead elected to back up and utilize his jab.
Because he was feeling that boy power. That's why. He was feeling that boy Canelo's power.
I'm not holding that against Triple G. My attitude is this is boxing. Jabs win as well. It helps you accumulate points. The damaging punches from Canelo came early. The damaging punches from Triple G came late. Where Max and I disagree is that I think that Triple G, to some degree, I believe his trainer Abel Sanchez, when he said Triple G took some of that 12th round off. And I think that may have cost him, along with him retreating. And
isn't it amazing how much Abel Sanchez is speaking? Abel Sanchez reminds me a lot of Freddie Roach. They talk a lot of shit until the reality hits, and then they're the biggest whistleblowers.
And using his jab to his advantage more. My buddy Teddy Atlas talked about Triple G when he had Triple G winning 117, 112. I think that's utterly ridiculous.
Well, look, we already know that Teddy Atlas is extremely partial. He's extremely partial to Triple G, and he despises Canelo for whatever reason. So we already know what that's about.
But he was talking about how Triple G was like a matador, and just okay, this is what Canelo wants to do, so let me back up, utilize my jab, etc., etc.
Right, but that's the problem. That's the problem. That is not Triple G's boxing thumbprint. That's not what he's known for, and he's truly almost never boxed like that since he's risen to fame in America. So that threw off the judges, in my view. Had he been known as a fighter who would just during the fight or in the ring in the midst of a close fight, then he might have gotten more of those close rounds. But him being a fighter who's always known for coming forward, and I mean he utilizes a certain level of head movement and lateral footwork to a degree to corner his man onto the ropes. But there was never a time where he was even able to really back up Canelo to the ropes. So I mean, I'm not quite sure how big of an argument he has to be upset. I mean, people are claiming that he got robbed. I don't see a robbery. I could see you saying you thought Triple G won 7-5, but to me the fight could have won 7-5 either way or 6-6. I had it 7-5 for Canelo because of the way that he impressed me with the way in which he executed his game plan,
etc. But I think it cost him. It should not have. I thought Triple G won a close fight. I had it like 114, 113, and 1 because I had the 6th round even, Max, and I had Triple G winning.
Right,
by
that's as
1
close
round.
as you can't get closer than that. In other words, you can't have a problem with the draw if you have it that close and there were close rounds.
Correct.
I was on the ring apron, like you're on the ring apron when you call the fight. It's not like being on the first row. And I can tell you that early on I could see Triple G landing, and he has a power jab, but the hard shots were landed by Canelo. Oh.
Absolutely. The left hook to Triple G's body, the right hook to Triple G's body. You could see that he was adjusting Triple G's organs, man. Like Triple G's liver, his kidneys were moving around in his body. There's no doubt about that.
Over the first half of the fight, Canelo was beating Triple G up. Over the second half of the fight, Triple G was beating Canelo up. And I thought by the end they had each won 6 rounds. But let me say this about Canelo. He won close decisions against Austin Trout and Erislandy Lara, yes. And the history of boxing has been that the money fighter tends to almost always get the close decisions.
Correct.
Against Floyd Mayweather, Floyd won 10 rounds against Canelo, and one judge had it.
Well, Max Kellerman, we know that the fix was in with that fight. I mean, Oscar paid one of the judges to have it a draw. We all know that. We all know that already. That's why I tell you, brothers, oftentimes when you're trying to figure out who the judge is that has been paid by one of the promoters, look at the judge who scores the fight even. Because now what that judge is basically doing is that judge is putting it in the hands of the other two judges to hopefully maybe have different scorecards in regards to who won, and then the fighter can get a draw, or maybe even both judges can score it for the promoter's fighter. Either way, you always watch the judge that scores a fight a draw. That's the one who's on the take. If it's a fight that's an obvious victory for a certain fighter and it gets scored a draw, you always look at that judge that scored it a draw. Always. Not the judge that had it 117, 111, or the other one had it 115, 113. You look at that judge that scored it a draw, because more likely than not, that's the judge that was on the take.
Against Triple G, at best Canelo won 6 rounds, but I thought more like 4 or 5. Triple G should have won, and one judge gave Canelo 10 rounds. So if you're Triple G and you know all the close decisions tend to go to Canelo, I'm not saying you need to accept injustice. I'm saying you know that going in, and you want Canelo to stand there and fight you in the trenches, and then Canelo obliges, then you have to know winning a fight on Stephen A's card, 6 rounds to 5, 1 round even ain't going to get it done.
I agree with you, Max Kellerman. Once again, you have to know coming into the fight that the judges are looking to give the decision to Canelo if it's close. You cannot afford to move around the ring. But then again, maybe he had no options. Maybe the punching power of Canelo was just so devastating that he had to give ground.
That's exactly the point that Andre Ward made to me when I interviewed him afterwards before on SportsCenter, and
hell, that's exactly the point that I made in my post-fight coverage.
And when we were off the air, he's like, Canelo gave Triple G what he asked for, and Triple G was retreating. He held that against Triple G. I don't
Fight could have gone either way. Fight could have gone either way. It went Canelo's way.
The third installment of this, Stephen A, is done.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see a third installment of Canelo versus Triple G. I think that their storyline, their narrative is over. The only way that Canelo would even consider giving Triple G another fight is if Triple G were to beat Charlo, Andrade, and maybe Danny Jacobs again. And by then, who the hell knows? Canelo might not even be fighting at 160 anymore. Who knows? But anyway, peace.